All right, Mohammed's up first. What's up, Mohammed? He says, hey, guys, let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit more. Guys, I'm still working on my video email leads. Just one big nuanced question here. I'm talking to a realtor about $2K a month for general consulting. And although things seem to be going great, today he flipped the script by instead offering a revenue share model. His reasoning was, if I was so good at what I do, I gave him references and I could measure every call and lead, there would be no good reason not to revenue share. Now, in theory, he's right. I could theoretically make more than $2K a month with revenue share, but I wouldn't be able to focus on the SEO and Maps part. And I'm not in a financial position to handle costs. Also, I wouldn't be able to ascertain which sales are mine because I can't use a call center. Plus, with something like real estate, is revenue share even possible? There isn't even a straight line to contact like in contracting. There's buyer research and all that. Okay, so first of all, with my experience with realtors was not really a revenue share, but they can give you like a referral fee for referring leads. As far as I know, and it's probably different state by state, Mohammed. If I'm correct, I think you're in Canada, so the rules may be very different. I know in the state of Virginia, they were not allowed to do revenue share. Realtors are not allowed to do that. It's against the realtor, whatever, code of ethics or whatever it is. They can give you a referral fee though. So it's like a flat fee, or it can even be basically like a percentage and stuff like that. But they have to name it as such, like as a referral fee, if that makes sense. But yeah, and I think Walt was commenting on the top of the page on your question or your issue here, your scenario, Mohammed. And I think Walt's got some pretty good advice about, revenue share is, I don't like to go right into revenue share with a new client at all, ever. Because I want to prove, first of all, that I can, get results in that market. But number two, that they can close the leads, which is kind of what Walt was alluding to, in his comment, right? Is the fact that I want to make sure that they're paying for the marketing. I can get them results if they pay for the marketing. Well, and if it's a new industry, a lot of times I need to, kind of fumble my way to get results anyways. But once we can start producing leads for them, we need to make sure that they can close the leads, because if their sales process sucks, their follow-up sucks, all that kind of stuff, then you're still getting paid to generate the lead, and it's their fault that they're not closing the lead. Does that make sense? And you're still making the money because you're doing your job. They're just not doing theirs, which is closing the leads, closing the sales, turning the leads into closed sales. So if you go right into a revenue share and you're not aware of that, like you wouldn't know that until you got into the campaign and you've already spent money, set up the assets, done all this other stuff, and then find out that they're terrible closers, right? And then, so what do? You've already wasted all that time and effort and money. So I only recommend going into an equity share or revenue share position with a client after you've built a relationship with them and you've proven your end and they've proven their end, that they can turn the leads that you send to them into closed sales, at which time it would make sense to approach them. So I would go back to the client or the prospect and basically pitch that to them that way and say, listen, we need to earn each other's trust here. And maybe you do some sort of a discount and I don't typically recommend that, but maybe work out, if you have to from to get the deal closed, you might want to do something like, okay, look, let's compromise and give me this set amount for this much time to get results. And then after that, we'll renegotiate and talk about equity share or, revenue share model. If that makes sense. So it's going to be different on a case-by-case basis. And again, I don't have a lot of experience with realtors. I got out of that industry rather quickly because I realized that they were a real pain in the ass to work with. So, but you could, the good news is you can pretty much customize any sort of offer or engagement to work for both of you, but I would not recommend going into revenue share right off the bat.
I would add, Bradley, if I may, that he needs to make this realtor aware that he has hard costs.
Right.
And that the hard costs are high at the beginning of any internet marketing campaign. Whether they are or not makes no difference. You have hard costs. So what are your hard costs? Somewhere around 65 to 70% of that 2,000. You can go as it's around 80%. I invest around 80% of the initial fee for the first 3-4 months until I get it humming, and then my costs are reduced as I produce more results and as everything gets to where it's supposed to go. Yeah. Sure, you have fees. I mean, whatever you want to make those hard costs be. They can be whatever you want. You can make a list that's a mile long of what your costs are. Right? Even if you don't have staff, you should tell them you have staff that you have to pay to do the work. I mean, you're the manager. You're the expert. You're guiding these people, but they have to be paid. All of these campaigns, all of these different things, they have to be paid. So I would still get him on that monthly. It won't be reduced. You tell, okay, I'll go hard cost plus the lead gen aspect that Bradley talked about, whether it's a finder's fee, whatever the fuck they want to call it, whatever it's legal to call it, that's what you call it. And then you'll end up making more anyway, to where eventually you get to that point where, okay, now we know each other. You know I can produce results. I know that you can close the leads. Now let's talk about that rev share, and maybe you drop some of that monthly fee. But I would never drop all of it, because you still have to be paid for the work that you're doing one way or the other.
Right. Yeah. If I can add real quick to what my partners here are saying, which I completely totally agree with them. I never usually go into a full-on rev share right off the bat. The good thing is that you can kind of negotiate a little bit. You can set up a setup fee, right? You can set up a setup fee so that, because on that case, the client is putting their money where their mouth is, right? And you're not working for free, which is the main point of all of this.
Right.
Now, so you can charge a setup fee and a lower retainer, and you can still have a revenue share position. So you're still getting some money in, right, to pay for your costs, because at the end of the day, your time will be there, but you also, as Marco was correctly saying, you might also have fixed costs, but you can negotiate a little bit. Like, I like to do it, the higher the revenue share, the lower I can go with my retainer up to a point, right? Like, for example, for Facebook ads campaigns, just an example, I don't charge less than $2,000, but it depends on how much money you're spending on advertising, right? And what kind of results that you want to have. So, and there's also the trust factor. If this is a completely brand new account for you, I mean, there's this trust factor of knowing exactly if the guy is actually going to pay you. You know, I've made a mistake in the past of trusting clients just because you would behave ethically, with a client. It doesn't mean that the client will behave ethically with you, right? So you go from that position and you get screwed. So, test the waters. I mean, there's room for negotiation here, but I would definitely make him commit some way, shape, or form of cash so that he's serious as well.
Right. Put some skin in the game on his end too. I mean, he's asking you to take all the risk right now, Mohammed. So, you've got to meet somewhere in the middle, which would be considered a compromise, or another term for it. Stephen Covey calls it a third alternative, where you guys can come up perhaps with a agreement that works out well for both of you. That's not really like a let's meet in the middle, but let's come up with a third alternative, like some of the scenarios that were just proposed, such as maybe perhaps a retainer with some revenue share, lower revenue share percentage, or lower referral fee. Again, in Virginia, you can't call it revenue share with realtors. But anyways, maybe a lower revenue share fee, but some upfront costs, obviously, or a retainer, so that it is covering your time. Because again, then it's both of you are committing some skin to the game, if that makes sense. Okay. Great question, Mohammed.